Hey there, folks. This is David Shore for Crump's Unit Child Protective Services. Now, I had gone over this one time before, but I'm going to go over it again. In life, you have choices. You can choose how you live your life. We should really think about, everyone should teach their children how to think for themselves, how to make decisions based on information they're given. But it has to be on both sides, not just one or the other. Because if you do that, then when someone shows you the other side, I've noticed people argue. People will argue. They don't want to listen. They don't want to hear what you have to say. So, doesn't matter what it is, but if you're going to make a decision, let's say that someone says you must be trans this or trans that, you must be this or you must be that. Do you really know yourself? Before you listen to anyone who says you got to be this or you must be that, then ask them, how are you coming up with that conclusion? If you had a couple of thoughts, and I've noticed that if you had a couple of thoughts, that's it. That's it. That's what you are. If you say you're a girl, you're a girl. If you say you're a boy, you're a boy. But is it your decision? What about like careers? I'm seeing this young generation, Generation Z, whatever title that they're now giving them. I saw a young lady, went into the corporate world. The corporate world was there and, going there every single day, a 9 to 5, working in an office. And person was only there 9 months, I understand. And the person noticed someone else in their 40s. This person's in their 20s, noticed person in their 40s making the exact same amount of money. And after 9 months says, I'm out of here. I'd rather work, odd jobs and stuff and barely making ends meet. That's a new American dream? Or is it just someone said, you don't want to get into that. You're going to be in the same position for the rest of your life. Here's a few questions for that young lady if she's watching. Did you ask that person when they started, how long it took them to make that kind of money? And then, did you check and see, okay, this person's making, let's say the person's making, I'm going to throw it out there. Let's say per week they make about $1,500 a week. And they've been working up the ladder. And they're now making $1,500. Now all of a sudden, we're going to pay you $1,500 a week. Oh, wow. And the other person is resentful. It's like, let's say it took them 5 years. That took me 5 years to make $1,500. And this person walks right off the street or right out of college to make it $1,500 or $2,000 or whatever it was. And that person worked hard to get that far. Before quitting, I think we should teach our children, instead of quitting, find out, talk to the person, say, how long did it take you to get what you're making? And they said, well, if they've been there 5, 10 years and it took them that long, and they find out, hey, I know you're making this much. It's like, wait a minute. Yeah, I'm making that much, but they offered it to me when I got into the door. Those of you that have been working a while and all of a sudden you got a college person coming in and making the same amount you do, don't be resentful. Because it's whoever interviewed them said, hey, guess what? I'm going to pay this person the exact amount I'm paying this other person who's been here for 5, 10, 15 years. And that's the bad part, is that the company will pay, will right out of college, not any experience, and say, there you go. This person's going to be your mentor, and you're making the same amount as the person there. Now, as you can see, I've got this person t-shirt on. I'm going to do a shameless plug, but one day at a time. And you have to know that you're going to have ups and downs, especially people who are veterans who have post-traumatic stress disorder. What's going to happen, you're going to have your good days, you're going to have your bad days. You may see some of these people, some veterans who are bitter at the government. They have every right to be bitter at the government because they say, oh yeah, just sign on that line, and when you get out, we're going to take 100% good care of you. And then as soon as you get done with your tour, it's like, hey, fuck you, you're on your own. Oh, I need some resources. You know something, that's not my problem. Go to the VA, I don't care. And the VA goes, oh yeah, you're a veteran. You're going to be on a waiting list. I'm sorry, we don't have the funding. Or, I'm sorry, there's just more people ahead of you. How many people have actually gone through that? Get with your Veterans Administration. Contact your senators and congressmen, especially now. An election year has officially begun. Next year, we're going to be voting on the most important position in politics, and that's the presidency of the United States. I just talked to somebody yesterday, a former family member. Asked this person, what do you think of Joe Biden? And says, well, I know one thing, I'm not going to vote for either one of them in 2024 for the presidency. I'm going to look for a third party. And she meant she's not going to vote for Donald Trump and she's not going to vote for Joe Biden. And that's the issue. We have choice. There's a saying, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. If you're confused at a young age about whether you're male or female, how about put that on the bag? Both sides of my family at one time or another. I am more comfortable around truck drivers than I am anyone else. I'm more comfortable around people that are even on the streets. Doesn't mean I want to live in the streets. No. I know that I enjoy drawing whenever I start drawing again. I've done tracing. I like martial arts. I was studying Jeet Kune Do, and I've got to get back into that. I stopped going because of my schedule. Plus, I'm helping family out. That's my daughter. My ex-wife Ellen is in a nursing home. It's a rehabilitation center. And at a later time, I'll talk to you about that. I'd like to exercise, but as you can see, I'm not exactly in the shape I want to be in. Yes, round is a shape, but for me, it's not a healthy shape. I'm saying for me. Others, maybe they like how they look. Something, there's nothing wrong with that. I respect a person if they like who they are. I am Intellectual, I like using logic and reasoning. There's times that I don't always use that, like a lot of people. I do get upset at the other drivers, but I can't control them. I can only control what I do. If there's anything you can really teach your children and teach yourselves, is control yourselves. Control this. They always say control this, but they don't teach you how. And the best advice I can do and give you is they do this meditation, and all you're doing is when you breathe in, you just breathing in, you're focused just on your breathing. That's all you're doing, is just on your breathing. Don't worry about the outside world. For a few minutes, just sit there, breathe in for 5, hold for 5, breathe out for 5. If you want, breathe in for 5, hold for 2, breathe out for 8. Whatever is comfortable for you, try it. Don't worry about what other people think of you. You want to know a little secret? The world don't give a fuck about you. Your employer, hey, you show up, you do the job, he gives you a paycheck. That's pretty much the beginning and end of your relationship with an employer. An employer cares that you show up. An employer cares that you do the best job that you can do, what you were trained. If there is something you have not been trained on, if they say, hey, go over there and get on that forklift. And if you haven't been trained on it, just do it. Say, hey, I don't feel safe. And if you have to, go to your HR person. If that person doesn't care, go then find the chain of command. If you have to, just document everything. You don't necessarily have to use one of these. You can just write it down. Chances are they got video surveillance somewhere. Whatever you don't feel comfortable. Make the life you want. It may not be what the group wants, but then again, it's your life. Now, there are some things, if you feel strongly about in a group, first get as much information as you can from both sides. That's the one thing. Get it from both sides of the aisle. Get all the information and then make an intelligent decision. Show your kids this is how you do it. Success is what I heard, 10% inspiration, 90% perspiration. In other words, use this and then this. Because 90% of what you're going to do is right up here. Right up in your mind. But you got to do the 7 habits. The 7 habits, like I said, is to be proactive. How do you be proactive? Well, you begin with the end in mind. How do you begin with the end of your mind? What do you want to accomplish? What is the overall goal? What is it right here? You got to start somewhere. You got to start pretty much about here. And you take the steps necessary to get there. You got to listen to me. This is a fact. This is that. But as soon as they're confronted with, okay, how do we do that? How do you come about that? What facts do you have? What information do you have that we have to do it today? And, maybe it's like climate change or something. Well, scientists say, number one, do not go with, well, scientists say, and then when you ask which scientists, the people who don't come forward and say, well, it's, they just believe me. Scientists say that climate change, we're going to be dying in 10 years. or 5 years that they don't give you your information. Here's another. Let's say you have a career in mind. I'll use mine, truck driving. By the way, since that time, I did try a lease purchase. It did not work out. I am now going to go with Martin Transportation. You may see the big blue trucks. And I'm gonna be back making the money I did before, but this time I got to pay for my own benefits and stuff. Oh, boo ho ho! I've done that before, so it's not as if I haven't done that before. But let me go with truck driving. How many of you? I like having something in my hand, but how many of you know how to become a truck driver? What are the steps? Don't just look at the dollar signs. Don't look at, like I'm going to say, if I tell you the truth, if I say, I'm going to be making 2,000, and I'm going to throw a number out there. I'm not going to. You know what you're going to look at? Ooh, he makes $2,000. No. When I say $2,000 a week, let's do the math. Because this is what you should do. Look at, okay, they say, all right, he says he's going to be making $2,000 a week. Multiply that times 25, that's 500. So what you're actually going to be bringing home is $1,500. $1,500. Now, guess what? That's 1,500 times 4, 6,000 a month you take home. Okay. So you just found out that you're spending about $2,000 in taxes. Okay, no problem. But then the benefits come out. And so let's say you spend, and I'm being generous on this, but let's say you spend about $100 a week. That's $400 a month on benefits. Okay, that 6,000 is now down to 5,600. But let's say, and that's medical, dental, vision, all that. Then you got your 401k. How much you putting out on that? If you have stock option, how much you going to do that? Additional life insurance if you want, how much you going to put out on that? How about accidental death and dismemberment? Additional, you're putting it out on that. Then you have to figure out, okay, how much is your rent? How much utilities? How much are your car payment? How much are your auto insurance? How much is gas? How much is food? And if you're going to eat out a lot, and if you're a truck driver, there are a lot of guys like me eats out a lot. And it's like, well, why don't you just use a refrigerator? Okay, if I have a refrigerator in the truck and it works, I'm going to stock food, prepare meals, things like that. When you tell someone you're making a certain amount of money, teach your children to say these words. If you really want wealth, if you really want to make it, there's a few things. To begin with the end in mind and put first things first. First things first is how much are you making a week, or how much you're making an hour, or how much you make a mile. Then if you go by the hours or the miles, you figure out, okay, how much money am I going to make? Do I have a guaranteed minimum? So in other words, if it's a guaranteed minimum, do not sit on your butt. Don't think I'm going to just do the bare minimum. I'm getting paid good. I don't have to do very much. But remember, if you do the bare minimum, does that employer then have to give you a raise? Don't say yes, because you got to read that contract. Actually, family is going to say, hey, I can't do it anymore. I've had family members do that. If there's people that are going to say, people are going to go like this. Oh, wow, hey, man, I heard you make $2,000 a week. Hey, could you give me a couple $100? You keep doing that. And then eventually when it's starting to run slow and you do not make $2,000, let's say you make $1,200 to $1,500 a week. Hey, man, you were doing so well. Now all of a sudden, you're too good. Wow, you can't help me out. I've been your friend, and you can't give me some money. I've got to take care of things. I got a car payment. It's like, at the very beginning, say, something, that's your responsibility. That's not mine. I'm broke. And these are, just say, I am broke. My late brother used to do that. And I found out, and I discovered why, or at least I believe I have. And that is, people were doing that. Hey, could you give me some money? Give me a few bucks. He'll help people, but at some point, he had to say, I'm broke. I'm broke. And even though he just got paid, after a while I started understanding. He's saying I'm broke, not because he is actually broke, but because there are things he wants to accomplish, things he wants to acquire. Think about that. What are the things you want? What are the things your kids want? Think about that. How many of you, if you just tell people, I'm broke, if you stop going to McDonald's or Burger King or places like that, how many of you would be that farther ahead? But here's the kicker, and I know a lot of you watching this are going to say, well, the economy's bad, and that's the kicker. Like I said in my last podcast episode, the state of California is going to pay their workers $20 an hour minimum. And a Big Mac is going to be costing you $18. So in other words, you're making $2 an hour more than what a Big Mac costs in the state of California. You can check this out. So don't worry about it. Sorry about that, folks. I've got an issue. But anyhow, just realize everything has a choice, but also something else. It's sorry. Oh, I am sorry. I got something popped up. Oh, you've got to be kidding. Sorry. Sorry, folks. I usually do not have this there. Ever have those pop-ups? You're trying to do something else on boop. But what I'm getting at is, look at people like Eartha Kitt. Denzel Washington, James Earl Jones, Sammy Davis Jr. I mean, Scatman Crothers, Louis Armstrong, the greatest trumpet player I ever heard. I have nothing but respect for all these people, all these individuals. And the reason is because they have talent. They worked hard. They wanted to get somewhere, and so they knew hard work. Maybe some people say, well, the females, they probably had to do something for it. When I remembered Batman, Eartha Kitt was the greatest Catwoman. And I'll tell you right now, if I was kidnapped by that Catwoman, I think I'd have a pretty difficult time not to resist her. It's just me. But like even in superheroes and villains, they made a choice. The Joker, he says he can't be anything other than what he is. Harley Quinn said the exact same thing. But you can see in like Batman Beyond, the girl's Dee Dee. They at the end of Batman Beyond, Return of the Joker. They go there and they say your grandmother can't come to pick you up. And she's getting very mad. I can't believe you would break your poor grandma's heart. They say, oh, chill out, Nana Harley. It was Harley Quinn. At some point, she did change her way. Selina Kyle, Catwoman. If you watched The Dark Knight Rises, Selina Kyle and Bruce Wayne, they just left together. Bruce acted like, Batman was dead and was able to live his life. He made a choice. What choices will you make? Don't go with the crowd. Ask people what they see. Look at yourself. And I'm talking everyone. You're talking parents, grandparents, siblings, friends, cousins, you name it. What they see. Then look in the mirror. Do you see what they see? Also, if you want to be something in this world, I'm about ready to do something that maybe a lot of you should have already been told. Stand proud, shoulders back, and when the world says you can't do that, give them a big ol' fuck you. Tell them to go fuck themselves. Tell the world, I'm going to be who I'm going to be. I'm going to make that choice, but I'm going to make it intelligently. I'm going to see everything from all angles and make a conscious, thoughtful decision. You'll make the choice. You'll have all the information, or as much information as you can get. Will you make enemies? Of course you will. People will leave you because you're doing something that they're afraid to do. No matter if you're an adult or a child. And the hardest and scariest thing to do is acknowledge who you are. To acknowledge that there are people that berated and belittled you because they were afraid of what you could become. And it's not a race thing. It's not a sex thing. It's not a gender thing. It's who are you? So I ask. And if you want to know more about me, okay. I like driving 18-wheelers. In fact, I enjoy it. I like driving, period. If I go into NASCAR, I believe I would have done real well. But I'm 58. A little too old and a little too big in the middle section to fit into one of those stock cars. I may be able to get in, but they're going to have to take a shoehorn to get me out. Or take the jaws of life. I had dreams of flying. I still have dreams of flying a helicopter. Whether or not I do that, it's at least on my bucket list. Motorcycles, maybe next year I'll finally get a chance to ride a motorcycle. I've got personal time off, 2 days. I might take that. I don't know. But it's really something when you start accomplishing the very things you want because you follow what it is you want. What is it you want? Not what everybody else wants. What is it you want? How do you define success? What is success to you? And how do you get there? How do you get from where you're at, from where you want to be? Oh, sorry, folks. I thought I heard something. You probably hear something in the background. Don't worry about it. But I will say this. Success is not an easy road. You're going to have roadblocks. You're going to have stumbling blocks. You're going to have, you're going to be chugging along and everything. Then all of a sudden, like that. Like I ended up, was with Holland Freight. I started in July 21st, 2021. My career with them ended July 30th. I always say July 31st, 2023. Because of a fucking coward. Because of somebody who's using the money they get as their own private piggy bank, giving themselves bonuses and everything instead of taking care of what they have to take care of. During bankruptcy court now, they have to liquidate as much as they can before they are officially allowed to officially go bankrupt. Now, there's one thing before I leave. I may have talked about the Warren Act. Sorry, folks. This takes a little... Warren Act violation penalties. Okay. Now, one is... Penalties for violating the Warren Act include civil penalty up to $500 per day of violation, back pay for each day of the violation up to a maximum of 60 days, other benefits for each day of the violation up to a maximum of 60 days, reasonable attorney fees. Now, employers can avoid the fine if they compensate the employee with back pay, the full 60-day pay they would usually receive, and benefits they were previously entitled to within 3 weeks of the layoffs. The update on this is it went past 3 weeks. So, if we go by mine, and what I was making... I will tell you, I was doing 2,070 miles. Multiply that times 65 cents a mile is $1,345.50. Now, then we add another $40 onto that. That's $1,385.50. Now, multiply that times 8. And that's $11,084. Now, could they go higher than that? Yes. If they went up to $1,500, and I'm just throwing this out, and multiply that times 8, that's $12,000. Now, we also, let's say it goes up to February 5th. That's 189 days times 500. That is $94,500 plus $12,000. That's $106,500. That means that for Yellow Corporation, the first pay is all off because we Warren Act violations take priority over everything else I discovered. You can check this out for yourself. They will have to have $5 to $10 billion for the whole thing. Let's say $5 to be able to pay all the drivers back, the 22,000 drivers, plus the 8,000 non-union drivers. Now, those that got a severance, they're taken care of. But the others that did not, they will have to pay. So let's roughly say $5 billion. Out of that $5 billion, you pay, let's say, 28,000. Well, let's say 28,000 total employees. They got to pay them off. And then they pay off, like the federal government, $700 million. And then everybody else has to be paid. Is Yellow Freight worth $5 billion? And who would pay for it? Estes Trucking was all set to pay for it, and it looks like they're actually going to buy it. There was another one on the 30th of October. They were going to go, hey, look, we want to put a bid in. Is Jack Cooper. And they were going to put a bid in of, I think, $2 billion. Apparently, I get updates, and looks like Estes is the winner, $1.525 billion just for their terminals. Then the other items has to be sold within 30 days. That means the trucks and trailers, forklifts, things like that. Then they have what's called non-roll. That was the rolling stock. The non-rolling stock is everything else. That means a filing cabinet, the computers, the chairs, the tables, things like that. And that's going to be coming up soon. So I'll keep you up to date on that. By February the 5th, that's the last official date they have as far as bankruptcy court proceedings. I don't know if that's going to be the end of the proceedings period. I understand the Teamsters have filed a Warren Act violation against Yellow Corporation, Yellow Freight. So don't know what's going to go on there, but if they wait until go right up to February 5th, the bankruptcy court can rule on this. The lawsuit can shift over to the bankruptcy court. Now, if you remember, also I heard something like $137 million that Yellow Corporation sued the Teamsters Union for so-called breach of contract, and the Teamsters countersued for the same thing. Chances are, with the Warren Act violations, that those lawsuits may be settled. Say, look, the judge may decide to cancel both of them out, and if they do, then Yellow Freight has no other choice, but they have to pay the Warren WARN Act violations penalties. Which means that we get paid first, and then what's ever left over, then it goes right on down the line. I think it should be employees, federal government, then everyone else. Because otherwise, guess what? You're going to be on the hook for $700 million. Or the federal government's just going to be eating $700 million. You want to know something? Maybe it would teach them right, because that $700 million, Donald Trump, when he was president, said, okay, give it to him. And instead of when Joe Biden took over, say, hey, whoa, hold it. We need an accounting of everything. We need an accounting of how much actually went towards new equipment, and we need to see a listing of new trucks, new trailers, everything. We need to know where that money went. if I heard correctly, they paid something like $290 out of 700 million. I keep on getting different numbers. If somebody knows the actual numbers, there is a section here. What did you think of this episode? Could you please put it in there? It'd be real nice if you tell me if you're one of the 22,000 drivers who lost your job, like Yellow, YRC, Holland, New Penn, Redaway. If you're one of them, could you please comment and tell me where, if you're working? And if not, I would encourage you to go to Martin Transportation. They have a guaranteed minimum. You check it out. They got a hiring bonus that upon completion of your application, actually orientation, you'll get that. And it'll be on your first check. Just check it out. It's Martin Transportation. And just go through the proceeding. You just fill it out. And, they'll have a mini application. And if you want, also fill out a regular application at Driver Pulse. Because more and more trucking companies are going under. Anybody knows a driver that's out of work, go to driverpulse.com. Download the app, upload your resume, and start applying on there. Go through everything. Teach your kids that, if you really want to work, flood places that you want to work for. Put your resume out there and let the employers contact you. Let them say, hey, this person. Or if it's a young person just starting with their first job. Everyone's got to start somewhere. Don't expect, my parents told me, don't expect to make the big bucks right away. If you hear about, California, wow, I can make $20 an hour. Let me just say this. There are 2-bedroom houses renting for about $2,400 a month. Shall we go over the math? Okay. To end this, and I know I said I was going to end it, but I want to go over this one more time. Okay. Now, let's say you think I'm going to do 40 hours a week times 20. Oh, wow, I'm going to make $800. But guess what? The employer says, oh, no. I may only work you about 25 hours times 20. That is $500 a week. So every 2 weeks, you're going to have $1,000. But hey, what are the taxes there? Let's say, and I'm going to say that the taxes are around 30%. So, if you do that, subtract 300, you have $700 in 2 weeks. Multiply that times 2. That's $1,400. Remember, a 2-bedroom house runs as much as $2,400. That's after taxes. That's at 30%. Might be higher, might be lower. And remember, out of that money, besides rent, you have utilities, transportation, food, daycare. How's that $20 an hour sounding now? And remember, when you go to McDonald's and you pay $18 just for that Big Mac, and oh hey, let's say you're paying $5 for a Coke. So let's see, you're paying about $23 just on yourself, and you haven't even got fries. Oh hey, the kiddies need something. So if you get done with everything, you're paying anywhere from $60 to $80 that one meal. And I know what you're going to say. That's not going to happen. Gavin Newsom already signed the bill into law. In April, it goes up, which means the price of food and everything is going to skyrocket. Hey, my kind of town, Chicago is. And, you know, San Francisco, you're now a ghost town. People showed the downtown San Francisco area, San Diego, Los Angeles. If it's not, if those two, San Diego and Los Angeles, are not a ghost town yet, they will be. Businesses are leaving. What does that mean for you? What kind of money are you going to get? You're going to wait for that $2,000 a month? Okay, you got $2,000 a month. How much are you going to get for rent? How much are you going to get for utilities? You got LA Late going, deliciousness. That guy is a pain in the ass, and he's a liar. He's a con man. What do you have to do to qualify for those programs? The so-called stimulus that you're going to get. $250,000. This person got $250,000 for rent, for utilities, and for food. Listen to the wording. Rent, utilities, food. Wait a minute. You got money for rent. You got money for utilities that you pay there. You get money for food. What's missing? Oh, yeah, transportation. What about the money to get you back and forth? How about the money? How about just getting to the store? The jobs are drying up. Canada's doing the same thing. The current Pierre something up there, he's running for prime minister. He said that he was in charge of, like our version of Department of Interior or something. Housing, basically. He said they paid $950 a month for housing. Now it's like $1,800 a month. Double. Cost of food, cost of everything is going up, up, up. And hey, Justin Trudeau, yeah, he's doing a great job. Yeah, great job at putting everybody into poverty. So I would recommend the people who are living like in California, Canada, or any place else that the cost of living is going through the roof. Look around at other places you can live. I mean, if you want to, and just, if you move, let's say Indiana, you can live your life any way you want. Just don't try changing somebody's lifestyle to fit yours. Just move there. If there's jobs, like if you become a truck driver in California, and they say, hey, look, you have to come like to Indianapolis, where I'm going to, and see if you can find a place around the Indianapolis area where you can rent a place, so for you or maybe you and your family, and just find out around it, check around, and this transfer from California over to Indiana or someplace where the cost of living is less. It's all about choice. It's all about choice. And what you want for your life. You want a good life? Check things out. See if there's a profession that you're qualified for in another state where you could actually move over there and start your life over in another state. Don't worry about politics. Don't worry about anything other than getting yourself on your feet. And this is the one thing, especially though the Gen Z that or cry because they have to go to work. And I know I said this before, but now I mean it. This is the final thing. There's a few things you should know. You have to get up every day. You have to go to work every day. If you want something, you have to work for it. And anyhow, employers, what they're looking at is, are you going to show up? Are you going to show up every day on time? Are you going to do the work we trained you to do? Or you were trained someplace else and we trained you our way? Are you going to do it this way, or are we going to have issues? Are you going to do just a bare minimum, or are you going to be an overachiever? Are you going to ask questions about how to better do the job, or are you just going to, well, I'm just a machine operator, so I'm just going to watch this stuff and I'm not going to try to get ahead? They'll give you a job, but look for a career. Look for something that is going to be long term. And for the young lady that quit after 9 months and doing odd jobs, eventually the odd jobs dry up. Then what will you do? And for everyone watching, you have to do more than just a bare minimum. But if you want to, that is also your choice. Teach your kids to strive for more. Not because it's a white thing or a black thing, because it's an individual thing. Because as parents, shouldn't we be proud of what our kids do? And if they overachieve, if they have a better life than we had, let's pat them on the back and let's tell them, great job. No matter what it is, even if it's at school. And let's teach them to go beyond just memorization and information lookup. Because school just teaches you the basics of doing that. Maybe look for a solution. And learn from our past. And see what we can do today. What our kids can do today to make the future better tomorrow. And show the steps. Now they're gonna have teachers that are gonna say no, 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 no. But even you as a parent say, what do you have to fear? Let's do the reading, writing, arithmetic. Let's leave the rest of it out. Let them discover it once they're out of school. The reading, writing, and arithmetic. Using this before engaging this and using this. Being smart, not aggressive. This is David Shore for Corruption and Child Protective Services. Keep your head down. Keep moving forward. And keep striving for the best.